When I was imprisoned, it was the Tsaritsa who pardoned me and gave me the title of Harbinger. I could sense she was a person of true sincerity and compassion, unlike all those pompous hypocrites with their posturing and rhetoric. Yet, it's difficult to say whether her compassion alone is enough to melt the ice and snow that permeates her land. All I can say is this. If we are forced to be at odds one day, I will raise my weapon against her without hesitation. Because that is the greatest level of respect I am able to bestow. As the original Harbinger, much about him remains a mystery. Upon our first meeting, he recognized my background with ease. Yet, to this day, I know little about him. He is very powerful, and that power comes with a high level of responsibility. However, I believe him to be someone worthy of respect, independent of the power he holds. When I first took over the House of the Hearth, he proposed a number of plans for us to work together. He wanted me to send any rejects to him. He planned to experiment on them and then share the results with me. I heard that he and the previous knave had quite the professional rapport in that regard. All I can say is that if he weren't one of my fellow Harbingers, I would have expedited their happy little reunion long ago. She is a very special Harbinger. Pose her a question, and the answer you receive will be entirely unpredictable, if she sees fit to give a proper answer at all. Regardless, any answer you do receive is sure to be an interesting one. The rooster holds little love for me, and the feeling is mutual. He is an acceptable mayor, I suppose. Perhaps even an exceptional one. He has an uncanny ability to make great gains at a small price, which has earned him substantial acclaim throughout his political circles. However small the price may be, if it continues to come at the expense of my organization, sooner or later... I have little interest in her. She's extremely passionate about her research and does not appear in public often. In fact, many of our officers have yet to see her at all. Compared to, let's say, someone who would go so far as to create segments of themselves to better wander across the land, I suppose you could say she is at the other end of the extreme.
He was the first ever Fatui Harbinger, and today he's our leader. He only appears on important occasions. As for his accomplishments, to be honest, I don't really care. I owe my loyalty and devotion to the Tsaritsa, no one else. Her Royal Highness, the Tsaritsa, is actually a gentle soul. Too gentle, in fact. And that's why she had to harden herself. Likewise, she declared war against the whole world only because she dreams of peace. And because she made an enemy of the world, I had the chance to become acquainted with you. I've seen him in battle before, and oh, what a sight it was. Perhaps I'm ranked too low for him to notice me right now. Well, he may not recognize my strengths yet, but one day, I'll show him what I'm made of. I heard that he took segments of himself at different ages, made prostheses out of them, and assigned different tasks to each one. I know, all my comrades are a little weird. Well, come to think of it, if I met another version of myself, we'd have to fight then and there to decide which one of us gets to survive. The Fatui Harbingers are ranked by strength, and I have no idea why that girl is number 3. I'd test my skills with every Harbinger who ranks above me if I had the chance. But when it comes to her, something just doesn't feel right. Anyway, you should be careful around her. Look, I've got nothing against people who have their own agendas. I myself joined the Fatui to get more experience in combat. But I don't like her at all. If she stood to benefit from betraying others, she'd turn against the Tsaritsa in a heartbeat. There isn't a sane bone in her body. I don't know what his motivations could be, but he seems genuine about wanting to help me. He treats me just like family. Oh, and speaking of family, Tonya and Tusa are always telling me about the pastries and other gifts he brings them when they write. So while I've been away from Snezhnaya, he's kept his promise to take care of my family. She always seems engrossed in her research. I wonder if those machines have anything to do with her. Anyway, I've only met her a few times, but every time she looked like she wanted to murder me. I have no idea what I possibly could have done to annoy her, though.
Everyone praises her for her kindness and benevolence, but they forget that love is also a form of sin. What if she's just trying to compensate for something? The Jester is a survivor of Conria. Besides that singular fact, I know very little about him, and never had any kind of close association with him. He seems to want something from me, though. In the past, he assigned to me many important tasks, including a number of trips to the Abyss. The ever-righteous captain, the brave and fearless captain, the nigh-invincible captain. Even my mechanical ears demand maintenance after listening to so many compliments from the members of the Fatui. Don't you think that possessing absolute righteousness is actually a latent danger? And that's without taking his great personal strength into account. It's a pity that Lesser Lord Kusanali already forced him to erase so many of his segments. The joy I would have derived from slicing them apart, one by one. Let me ask. What should you do if you were to encounter a damsel who is oblivious and innocent at any given time, and unconcerned and unfeeling in any given situation? If it were me, I could at least challenge her to a fight. But if it were you, with your conscience, I would stay away from her. A wolf in sheep's clothing. To exert a higher level of control over people, she puts on a graceful and cordial front. Most of those who have seen her true crazy self have gone poof. Only someone as dense as Child would think the rooster is looking after him and his family out of the goodness of his heart. Although the mayor has indeed done a number of things for their benefit, anyone with a brain would be able to tell that the underlying meaning is, your entire family is in my hands. She has a terrible personality and cares for nothing outside of her own research. But even with that amount of dedication, she still produced a copious amount of garbage, and could only secure a ranking that's still one whole place beneath my own. How pitiful. He's simple of mind, and not that strong of body. Naming him to the lowest ranked seat lowered the Harbingers' collective prestige. Thankfully, I'm no longer part of that group.